right, so Happy New Year. My apologies, it's been a couple of weeks, quite a busy into 2023, and this is being recorded Friday, January 5th. Like I said, it's been a couple of fast weeks there, and here we are, into the new year. Go ahead and get into it. So the first items here, the news. So if you head over to the Facebook page, my upgrade offer, you've got a live Reddit thread of an attempted landing and diversion that I thought was interesting. Now, you'll sometimes see this if you are bored or an aviation geek. You can go over to that platform formerly known as Twitter, and you can follow some of the major airlines and look at the replies threads. And some of those can be interesting. But over on Reddit, it's a platform that I've dabbled in here and there. It's a social media platform, but Reddit is, I would say, hyper moderated. So you can do things over on Reddit and then immediately get the post like removed. It's very hyper moderated over there. But this was a link to a Reddit thread, and you can read through it if you want. It was a Delta flight where something about the captain made an interesting comment that they made a couple of attempts at landing. They did not go successful. They eventually diverted, and the folks on board and also some other folks were chiming in there with the attempted landing, and I think they ended up having to go to a different airport. So for those of you that are aviation geeks or like to follow plane tracking or be your own flight dispatcher, you may also find that somewhat interesting. Again, head over to the Facebook page, My Upgrade Offer, scroll down a bit. We've got a lot more to cover, a lot more posts there, and you'll find the link over to that Reddit thread if you're interested. Another post out there, which is from my trip out west that we found, that one of the particular parking lots here in Atlanta, the parking spot, they had quite a price increase for Christmas. Now, the parking lots, this particular one, parking spot 2 and parking spot 1, they offer some corporate rates and AAA rates. So there are some ways to get around that. But it was quite a increase, and you've got a screenshot. It was over $50 a night for parking if someone were to just drive up and want a spot to park in. Honestly, that's price gouging. You could probably double that and just a little bit more and get a hotel room for that much a night. So because folks, typically if they are parking for, at the airport, they're there for multiple nights. It's not like going to a concert where you're there just for a couple of hours. But this is a capitalistic country, and you can do what you want, and they did. So we ended up not doing that for this trip. A friend took us down there to the airport, and he was quite a trooper. And then we ended up getting a lift back to the house when we got back really late that Saturday evening, Sunday morning. So we didn't have to deal with the parking, but it honestly would have been about the same cost. We bought our friend a bottle of booze just for getting up early and helping us out. But with the discount that I was going to use, the Lyft ride was about that much. The Lyft driver that we got, I will say, I don't know, I was kind of worried that he may have fallen asleep a little bit. He was an older gentleman. He had a mid-sized SUV, so we got all the bags in there okay. But I'm not a fan of someone driving less than the speed limit here in Atlanta in the left lane. So there we were. He was also kind of weaving a little bit. He did not appear to be intoxicated, but he was not the best driver for Atlanta metro traffic. We got home fine, Everything was okay, but it was not the best Lyft ride I'd ever had before. So it is what it is. You know, we typically do park at the airport. We were worried about what security may be, and there actually were no issues with security. It looked like all the reports that I saw with security here in Atlanta and TSA that for Christmas travel, that was all fine. It looks like they were paying folks overtime to work their Christmas shifts. It looked like it all got pushed to New Year's. I was seeing a lot of longer waits for New Year's here in Atlanta, from what I gathered out of the notes there. But yeah, that's you know, what seemed to happen. But it does not seem to be a meltdown like 2022 was, especially with Southwest. And you do have, you know, about a year to the day that Southwest did have to end up settling for that that debacle they had over Christmas 2022 that we thankfully just got out ahead of. But we did notice that actually when we flew out on that cruise down to Florida and around Christmas 2022. All right, the next news item you'll see out there, it's an interesting bit of commentary, and I believe the article goes into a little bit of why this may have happened, but in Austin, Texas. So I would say for quite a while that has been a bit of a stronghold for American Airlines. Austin is not far from their hub, you know, DFW. And DFW, if you go back to a little bit of history, was a hub, you know, focus city even for Delta for quite a while. Delta made the choice a number of years ago to pull out of Dallas-Fort Worth. And you also have United and Southwest, you know, are major players out in Texas. But American, I believe, with one of their union contracts, they have made a decision there. And there was even another note, I don't know if I posted it. If it was true, there may be some movement at American to pull in their subsidiary airlines into mainline, which was an interesting discussion and move possibly, if that's really where it's going. I think with all of the push, especially with the pilots, you've got so much preparation, and you've got, you know, these pilots that are training, you know, 1,500 hours and so forth, that, you know, these entry-level pilots, that they're not spending much time in these, you know, connection carriers like they used to, that they're going right into mainline. And so that there's not that much pay difference in some of these cases. And I can honestly see a bit of a push there, where that may be a thing, where these connection carriers, there may not be much of a value principle there, you know, at least short term. So we'll see what happens. But with American pulling flights out of Austin, Texas, and looks like Delta moving in, seeing an opportunity, that's not too much different than what I saw happening in Raleigh, North Carolina, RDU. American had quite a focus city. They actually still have an Admirals Club there, right next to the Delta Sky Club in Raleigh. But you have Delta with quite a few more nonstops that leave out of Raleigh, moving in, you know, where American is deciding to pull out flights. Is it a good move? You know, all of these are for-profit entities. That, you know, there are no airlines that I know of in the U.S. that are nonprofit entities. So they're all for-profit airlines. You know, there is either a long goal, or, you know, to build loyalty with the customers there and the customer base, or they are clearly making money, you know, with those routes there. So we'll see how that works out. But you got an article out there about an opinion and, you know, some moves that someone sees happening out in Austin. And again, that is very similar to what I see happening over in Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, so not much news there. I'm going to, you know, bank a couple of items here towards the end of the episode. But where I've been, where I'm going, so as you know, we went west for Christmas, and just mentioned about the parking and getting to the airport situation here in Atlanta, but it was a great trip. We spent 4 nights in Las Vegas, 3 nights in Palm Springs, and it did end up the hotels, both the Park MGM in Vegas and the Renaissance over in Palm Springs, were almost free, and those were pretty decent deals, especially that Renaissance in Palm Springs. It's one of their nicer, larger hotels in Palm Springs, and that hotel normally goes for hundreds of dollars a night. So it was nice to be able to pull in some MX points combined with some Marriott points that I already had, and we were able to get all of those nights free. And I will say about the Renaissance there, we were not nickeled and dimed whatsoever. I think the checkout bill was only around $21, and I am still platinum with Marriott, and we had a full, not just continental, it was a full buffet breakfast every day that was comped. We had a $10 per day food and beverage credit that was also given. Their normal self-parking charge was $35. I was hoping to get the rental car returned with Avis. It was their off-airport location. It was right near the airport in Palm Springs. So what we did is we picked up a car at New York, right next to Park MGM in Vegas, and drove out to Palm Springs. And I hoped to drop that car off, but the location actually had closed for the day already, and that it was boarded up like an embassy in a foreign country. That there was no way, to drop that car off. I guess I could have left it. And actually, the manager the next day when I went back out there, she was, "Oh, you could have parked it and just thrown the keys over the fence." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know that I would have known to do that or would have been safe." But she said, yeah, someone stole the key box, for the after hours. But it wasn't that far from the hotel out there. But even having to park the car at the hotel just for one night, they didn't even charge us for parking. So again, it was really turned out great. It was a nice room. They even upgraded us to a little junior suite. It was a nice big room because Mike had to work a little bit while you're out there. So it's really, really nice. And over at the Park MGM in Vegas, which I'll get to some of those little details here in a second. Again, really, really nice to stay at Park MGM without the smoking. If any of you know the history of Park MGM, it was the Monte Carlo in Las Vegas. It was totally revamped, regutted, and reopened as a non-smoking casino and hotel, which was one of the biggest reasons that we did stay there, and well worth it. We did like that. So next weekend, again, we're recording this on the 5th of January, and I may have to do this cut off here a bit. I got a friend coming over to help out with a little bit of housework, but I'll probably record this little segment and do a part 2 here in a second. But let's see, San Antonio next weekend. The bowling tournament flying out Friday for MLK weekend, coming back Monday. And it looks like I don't have to make any changes, but again, not really happy about American Express with that redemption. They didn't honor, the terms there on the website, but hopefully that's not going to be a big deal, and we'll be able to just use that. Also looking at it is technically an airport property out in San Antonio, the Crown Plaza Hotel, and that one there, they should have an airport shuttle. It looks like also the bowling alley clocks in right at about 3 miles from the hotel to the bowling alley. So if I read their website right, they have a little shuttle that has a 3-mile radius. So we shouldn't have much cost or not have a need to really get a rental car. My friend that bowls with us is actually going out early to do some hang out with their family while he's there. And so he's going to have a rental car. So, should be a pretty decent time out there, and looking forward to that. Going back just a moment there, I will say that we did a little bit of bowling because one of my friends that did join us out in Las Vegas, he does bowl with me as well. That was about the best bowling alley I think I've ever been to. It was retro, but extremely well maintained. 70 lanes. I think the biggest bowling alley is out at the Gold Coast Casino in Las Vegas. And, I could throw that ball and it landed, and it was just solid. I bowled again this week at our bowling alley here in Atlanta, the Bolero, and I've said it a couple of times, I said, if I threw that ball in Las Vegas, I think it would have been a strike or a spare. Now, I'm no PBA pro by any chance. I'm not trying to say or give excuses, but I will say that bowling alley out in Vegas, and I would like to do their tournament. They call it the Las Vegas Showgirls Tournament, which I think is cute. With their rainbow colors, they do it around Labor Day, if I'm not mistaken. So we can't do it here for 2024 because our plans are to make it to Ireland a week or two before that. But maybe it's a 2025 trip because they actually do use that large bowling alley at Gold Coast, and I was very impressed with it. So just a quick comment about that before I forget. But also prepping this week, I did make those final payments, or that one final payment for the March 21st. Again, the invitation is open. This is Celebrity Silhouettes. It's just a short 4-nighter over a weekend, March 21st, so Thursday to Monday, going out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Short celebrity cruise. It goes to Key West and to Nassau if you want to just hop on a short little getaway. Would love to have you. I'm taking Dad and my stepmom on that trip there. That's all locked in. Made that final payment this week, and looking forward to a quick little getaway. That's also around my birthday, if anybody wants to go and celebrate. Looking forward to that. And then speaking of that Ireland trip, coming up August later this year, JetBlue did honor all those plans. If you've been following what I did get the credit card, as I said, for the Delta status match there. And yesterday, I actually got the email that that status has been extended all the way through the end of 2024, and those Mint upgrade certificates did get extended as promised. So kudos and thank you to JetBlue for that. We will likely use those for the trip, and those are different this year, as you might recall from the last one. When you book, and I actually saw the screen, it is different on JetBlue's website. You book the trip on JetBlue's website, and then you come back in, and there's a screen, and it says, do you want to use your move up to Mint certificates? And if it's available, it clears right then, which is a huge advancement and not the way the other airlines do those. A lot of times, with Delta, for example, you got the global upgrade certificates. If space is available on domestic, those clear automatically. Not necessarily international, but with these, what JetBlue does is if you're flying over the pond, they consume 2 certificates. So with the status match, I've got 4, so we will likely use that probably either going or coming. And I still have that Air Canada certificate. Maybe I'll use that coming back. We'll see. So I got to do the math and see what makes sense, because JetBlue still has a pretty competitive fare for that trip in August. They're trying to fill that new route up that they're putting in there. So we'll see. So I'm going to pause. We'll do a part 1 here for the episode. I'll get into this week's deals on part 2, and we'll get this out here shortly. Thanks.